Hey guys, and welcome back to EQ Planes, and today I'll be unboxing these two very rare Canadian North models in the Polar Bear livery. Now, some of the newer Canadian North liveries have since become quite a bit easier to find, including the newest Canadian North 737-300 from Prairie Diecast, and the Canadian North 737-400, which you can find on the Canadian North store. But these old Polar Bear livery aircraft have definitely become quite hard to find. Now, the Canadian North Dash-8 was retired back in 2021, and the Canadian North 737-200 is certainly close to retirement. It was supposed to be retired last year. However, one example of it has stuck around, which just happens to be this exact registration. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this unboxing, starting with this Canadian North 737-200. So, taking a look inside the box here, the first thing I noticed that the outside of the box is sticky, which is, well, that's kind of weird. Actually, I'll probably go wash my hands before I handle the model because that's really odd. And then, yeah, so this is an Aero Classics model. I believe this was on Aero Classics' later 737-200 mold. Definitely hope this one isn't affected by zinc rot or anything like that, but we are about to see. And this will be my second 737-200 model in my collection, but certainly not my last, as I already have another one lined up. But yeah, without further ado, let's take a closer look at this model. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at this Canadian North 737-200. Starting with the nose section. Now, the Aero Classic 737-200 mold certainly is pretty good. I think the nose section is generally okay on this model. I think the cockpit windows might be a little larger, the nose a little stubby. But other than that, it's really good, not really noticeable, and I think overall it's really good cockpit shape. So they definitely have that down. Moving on to the general fuselage, definitely think that that's been done well. And same with the engines. The engines are pretty good for being how small they are. This is on Aero Classic's newer mold, I believe, for the 737-200. Notice the registration, Charlie Golf Delta Papa Alpha. Now, I believe this was the Spirit of Norman Wells back when it was with Canadian North. Canadian North is the only surviving branch of Canadian Airlines. So Canadian North used to be under Canadian Airlines, and they had Canadian Airlines 737-200s painted up in special Canadian North schemes, which were fairly similar to the typical Canadian scheme, but they had a bit of a star on the tail, and they had the Spirit of on the side of them, and it also said Canadian North. But yeah, so this features their old Polar Bear livery, which they received after the bankruptcy of Canadian Airlines, or rather, not bankruptcy, but merger or buyout into Air Canada, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so this you'll also notice is a combi configuration, as all the Canadian North airlines were, except for I believe a couple 737-200s didn't have the combi configuration. Now this particular aircraft does have a gravel kit on it. It's not shown on the 1:400 scale model. However, the gravel kits are very small. They're just you have kind of things that blow the air away from the engines on the intake here, and you have a bit of a different shape to the forward geared door. But other than that, I think Aero Classics has done a very good job on this model. The color is a little bit dark, as with all Aero Classic models, but overall I think it's better than some of the models they've made, and I think it's a pretty good representation of the Canadian North colors. So yeah, certainly was a pricey model. West Coast Diecast can certainly, I think they definitely upcharge a bit on the models, but it's okay, as this is a very rare model. Wasn't able to find it on eBay, and now I have it. So definitely a great addition to my collection. Hope to at some point get their 737-300 in these colors as well, and would love to see a CFL version of their aircraft made. But yeah, you can only get those as customs right now. But anyways, let's move on to the Canadian North Dash-8. So next up here we have the Canadian North Dash-8, which it did say it had a bit of damage on it. It said it had a bent prop, so we'll take a closer look at that. Still a pretty pricey and rare model. Now, Canadian North did retire their Dash-8s in favor of the ATRs. So yeah, their last Dash-8s left Calgary back in 2021. Haven't been back since. I believe some of them have gone on to fly in Africa and stuff, but definitely miss seeing these around the airport, and it's going to be nice to have one of them as almost the memento of the Canadian North Dash. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at this JC Wings model. Taking a closer look at this Canadian North Dash-8, You can definitely notice that the bent prop is certainly noticeable. You can see right here. And I believe the one on the other side, this one over here, is a little bit better. But yeah, definitely, I guess they're both bent. But it's not super easy to notice. But if you're looking closely at the model, it's definitely something you're going to see. But overall, I think the model still definitely looks good. I think they did a really, really good job on the coloring on this. That's definitely the Canadian North colors, as you can see, versus the slightly darker Aero Classics version of the plane. But yeah, definitely miss seeing these Dash 8s around. I believe the ATR 42s have taken the place of the Dashes. However, we used to get the Dashes all the time in Calgary. However, we don't get we got the ATR 42 actually a couple days ago, but usually we don't get it at all. Now, when it comes to the Dash-8 100 here, it's definitely an underutilized mold in 1 to 400 scale. My only other classic Dash-8 aircraft is an America West one, and I definitely like to see more classic Dashes made, as there's certainly plenty of livery combinations out there for it, as it was certainly one of the more common regional and turboprop aircraft. Now, I'd definitely like to see the Air Canada Jazz and Air Canada toothpaste color schemes made by Gemini Jets or JC Wings, who made this version. But yeah, and the other thing, I guess, quickly, is that you'll notice the front nose gear looks like it's bent down a bit, which, I mean, you can't expect a great amount of detail on a model this small, but overall, I think what matters is that they got the shape right and it looks pretty good. So yeah, overall, definitely a really good model. Definitely glad that I decided to go pick up this pretty niche model. And yeah, so overall, I am very happy with these pickups. I'm so glad to have these old Polar Bear Canadian North livery aircraft in my collection. They've been something I've been looking for a long time, and was definitely happy that they came up at West Coast Diecast. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed this and you want to see some more Canadian aircraft unboxings, as I should have a very large retro Canadian unboxing coming up here. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys back next time.